program. Our next guest now is a mathematician, a social entrepreneur, a creative activist and author. He's also president of OneHome and founder of Biosphere Economics. He's the type of person who is capable of reconciling business with arts, arts with science, and science, wait for it, with love. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jean-Pierre Goux, who recently published Révolution Bleue, la petite princesse, Blue Revolution, the little princess, and he will be offering a great transition to our next session on navigating sustainability from economic growth to social and environmental stewardship. Please give him a warm welcome.
And then we'll do
over to you. Thank you so much.
Laurence, Julia, Philippe, and then we'll do the deep dive questions.
Hello, everybody. So I'm very pleased to be with you today and talk about reconciliation. I became concerned about the ecological crisis at a very early age, around 4 years old, when my parents offered me a book about endangered species. And since that time, I knew that my life purpose would be about reconciling humanity with the biosphere. So I became a mathematician, then I became an entrepreneur, and I worked 20 years in the energy transition. And there I observed that most of the people were focusing on fixing the system rather than looking for a long-term reconciliation between biosphere and humanity. And this observation is true in most of the field of the transition, being in agriculture, in economics, in finance, in energy, in health, transportation, politics, whatever topics you want, who are more focused on short-term fixing than inventing a new paradigm. And behind this new paradigm, the humanity is missing, let's say, a story, a myth, something that we can believe and that we can use to accelerate the ecological transition and change the way we inhabit the earth. Myths are very special stories with 3 ingredients. They have been invented by the Greek or even by the Indians before, and the 3 questions are the following. The first one is, where do we come from? The second one is, who are we? The third one is, where are we going? And today, these questions are not answered in a way to accelerate and sustain the ecological transition. And if you want a myth to work, you need the answers to these questions and also some kind of magic to make it operable in our unconscious mind. So I started to look for this story or this myth that could sustain the ecological transition. So first, I looked at evolution to understand where do we come from and who we are. And all of us in this room are made of particles which have the age of the universe. And I'm sorry to tell you that you are all 13.9 billion years old. So this particle exploded after the Big Bang and formed galaxies. There are 200 billion galaxies in the universe, and there are roughly 200 billion stars per galaxy. So we live around one of the stars, the Sun, and on one of the planets around the Sun, magically life arrived. This life evolved in different steps. One of the mystery of biology is the jump from monocellular to multicellular. You are all multicellular beings with 30,000 billion cells cooperating to be you. And all these multicellular creatures on Earth then decided to work together to create an even bigger creature that is called the biosphere. And from Jess Lovelock Gaia hypothesis, we know that the biosphere is like a living being inhabiting the Earth and taking care of the parts that are all the living things on Earth. And when I looked at this timeline, I got an idea that maybe we are at the verge of a new jump in complexity, and humanity, which is today 8 billion people separated, could become one giant organism, one giant multicellular thing made of these 8 billion people, and this giant organism is called humanity. So humanity today, when you look at it, it's 8 billion of men and women together on this planet, and I always have difficulties to represent what is 8 billion people. And if you put them on the shoulder of each other, you arrive at a giant being of 300 million tons. And this giant being is mainly patriarchal, because today only 10% of the world leaders are women. So this creature is patriarchal, non-empathic, violent, and we have to tame this creature in order to live within the planetary boundaries. And this creature has an habit that started a million years ago to create tools, to create objects. And 2 years ago, Nature published an article where they measured the mass of all the human artifacts that are non-renewables, that are non-recyclables. If you put concrete, plastic, metals all together, this creates a giant ball, and this ball has the same weight as the biosphere, not the weight of the Earth, but as the living things on the Earth. So all our, let's say, wastes are at the same magnitude of the life process, and today we are arming the biosphere, this gigantic creature, with the waste of our economics. So when I looked at that, you could think that humanity is a cancer for the biosphere, and I couldn't believe in that. I was sure that we have a function, a deeper meaning. I was trying to look for that. And also, as I told you today, this creature is not conscious of himself, and by looking at this picture of what is called murmurations, a group of birds, I was looking for an image that could lead us to the future, inspired to the futures, and I found this image for the future of mankind on the cover of The Little Prince. Since I'm a kid, I always wonder why this little prince was so big on such a little planet, and I came with the hypothesis that the Little Prince is not an individual, but more a collective, multicellular humanity that has found the keys to inhabit its planet in a sustainable way. And when you look at the Little Prince through this angle, is traveling the universe before arriving on Earth, and is visiting 6 planets, and on each of these planets is always finding one individual, not many, always a man, and always with a sickness. And these sickness are not sickness of individual, these are sickness of mankind. We inhabit the Earth like a king, thinking that the Earth belongs to us instead of thinking that we belong to the Earth. It makes a big difference. We are vain. We find ourselves self-important, like the vain man here. We are addict, like the drinker. We are like the businessman. We give, the answers to our children that we cannot finance the ecological transition because we don't have the money. So we are giving the same answers as this businessman. We are like the guy, the lightman that is lighting this lamp. We don't have a purpose as a collective, as humanity, and this lack of purpose of humanity is creating a lack of purpose with the individual. And then we are like the geograph. The geograph is always looking at the world, not with his eyes, but through the maps, and we are looking at the world through our cell phones. So these are diseases of mankind, and when the Little Prince arrives to Earth, he's giving us keys in order to inhabit the Earth in a new way by reorganizing our relationship with animals and human beings. So I gave a name of this collective species that we could become, called Homo Biospheris. And this Homo Biospheris, when you represent it like that, it's still like it dominates the Earth. So I was looking for a concept to change our representation, and I found that an article that explained that when a new organ forms in a system, it looks like a tumor, and then this cell multiply and decide to form a new organ. And I came with the hypothesis that the humanity could become an organ of the biosphere, and when you have an organ, you need to define what are the role, what are the function. For example, the liver is synthesizing vitamins or filtering certain fluids in the body. So what are the functions of humanity? I found 16 of these functions. The first one could be to garden the Earth and take care of the Earth. The second one could be to take care of the part of the Earth. We could become the nurse of the Earth. We could bring consciousness to the Earth itself by traveling to space and taking this Earth photograph. I have a project on that one. We could be contemplating. This is a marvel of consciousness, and contemplating the beauty of this planet and the beauty of the universe. We could create music, we could love, we could explore the physical world and even the non-physical world using psychedelics. We could use our brain, our amazing cognitive spirit, not to create useless goods, but to solve the problem we have created, and also to solve the big mysteries of the universe. And for example, every time we produce a telescope that is more complex, like the James Webb Telescope, it's like we're changing the glass of the Earth to discover more details and understand the biggest questions, which is, are we alone in the universe? We even demonstrated 2 years ago that we have the capacity to deflect an asteroid when it's arriving to the Earth, and this capacity, if it's built up, could become one of the main missions of humankind to protect all life on Earth against planetary disasters. So this function will require to make, let's say, a big collective intelligence experience with the world, because this is from a man from the Western world, and we need to consult all the countries, all the children to define what are the functions of humanity. But once you have defined the function of humanity toward the biosphere, you change the question of who am I? And by changing the question of who am I, if 8 billion people will believe that they are part of this multicellular body that is an organ of the biosphere, then suddenly all the concepts we have in sustainability, like circular economy, like agroforestry, which are against the capitalist paradigm, will become mainstream with this Homo Biospheris paradigm. And the energy that is needed to create Homo Biospheris, the energy that makes spark together to create a whole, this energy is love. Love is the energy that makes particles to create atoms, atoms to create molecules, molecules to create living things to create the biosphere. And if we want to create the humanity, we need to open our heart. That's the secret of Homo Biospheris. When I was at this stage of my research, I thought this could be a good novel, a good story, to tell the story how to go from the society of nowadays and go from Homo sapiens to Homo Biospheris. And this process, I called it the Blue Revolution, and I gave myself the challenge to write a story which in 3 years we go from the society we know today to the society of Homo Biospheris. And in that story, I needed a little girl as an agent of change, an agent of reconciliation. And the title of the novel came in a dream, and I called it The Little Princess, as a reference to the Little Prince. And when I finished to write this book, I discovered a letter only published 2 years ago, where Antoine de Saint-Exupéry promised to his wife to write a sequel of The Little Prince named The Little Princess. We never found the book, but it may exist somewhere. And in my novel, the little girl is looking for this book where she will find the secret to activate Homo Biospheris. So this is how was born The Little Princess, that was published 3 months ago with a foreword from the family of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. That was the story I wanted to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.